She leaned on my doorway naked, grinned boldly, and said, "Well, say something." The planet outside was harsh and unforgiving, a vast desert of jagged rocks stretching under two blazing suns. Dust storms rose and fell like restless spirits. From the small window of his quarters, Kieran could see the station's solar panels flexing to catch every bit of light. This world called Vera 6 was beautiful in its own cruel way, but it could also be deadly. He sighed and rubbed his eyes. Isolation was part of the job, yes, but sometimes it felt unbearable. The rest of the crew were elsewhere in the main lab or on maintenance duties, leaving him alone for hours at a time. That was supposed to be perfect for his work, but instead, it made the silence almost unbearable. Suddenly, the air in the room shimmered like heat waves rising from the desert floor. Kieran blinked, thinking his mind was playing tricks, but no. The shimmer stayed, forming a shape in the doorway, and then she was there. A figure of light and soft translucence stood in the doorway, fully humanoid, but unlike anything Kieran had ever seen. Her skin glimmered faintly, reflecting the room's lights in strange patterns. She was naked, not in a shocking way, but in a natural, alien sense, like clothing was unnecessary for her biology. Her expression was bold, almost playful. She leaned casually against the frame of the doorway and grinned. "Well," she said, "say something." Kieran froze, unsure whether to step back or speak. His rational mind screamed that this was impossible. Humans did not encounter beings like this, not on Vera 6, not anywhere. And yet here she was, grinning at him like they were old friends. He stammered. What are you?" she laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle storm. "I am called Luma. I have been observing. You are human, yes, curious, inventive, brave, or at least that is what I have seen." Kieran blinked. "Observing from where? How did you appear?" She shrugged, though her shoulders glimmered like liquid glass. "You could call it teleportation. Your words matter less than your reactions. I wanted to see what a human does when faced with something extraordinary." Kieran swallowed hard. His heart was pounding, not just from fear but from awe. He had studied alien life for years, but never anything like this. Most extraterrestrial discoveries were simple organisms, microbes, or plants. Never a being that could appear out of thin air, speak fluently in English, and seem confident. "And why are you here, on Vera 6?" he asked, finding his voice. "I wanted to meet one human," she said simply. "You are alone, you think clearly. I am interested in understanding your species." Kieran shook his head, trying to make sense of it all. "Understand us? How?" Luma tilted her head, studying him like he was a specimen under a microscope. "By seeing how you respond to the unknown. Humans are said to be adaptable, creative, daring. I wish to see it for myself." Kieran's mind raced. Adaptable, creative, daring. That was what humanity was indeed. That was what he had always believed in. But facing an alien being like this, so open, so bold, it was one thing to read about it in reports and another to see it standing in your doorway, staring at you without fear. He found himself stepping forward cautiously. You're not dangerous." "Dangerous?" she echoed, laughing softly. "I am curious. You humans often equate the unknown with danger. I am not your enemy, Kieran Hale. I am an observer." Her words made him uneasy and fascinated at the same time. He had worked on this planet for months, but never had anything remotely like this happened. He could feel a spark of excitement he hadn't felt in years. "Why me?" he asked. "There are others on the station." Her grin widened. "I chose you because you think differently." "You are human. That alone is enough to intrigue me." Kieran swallowed and tried to calm himself. "Okay, then what do you want from me?" "Nothing," Luma said. "I want only to watch, to interact, to see how you solve problems, how you respond to challenges." Kieran blinked. "Challenges?" "Yes," she said, stepping fully into the room. Her presence was almost weightless. "You humans are clever, yes. You are strong in ways that other species I have studied are not. I want to see it firsthand. Prove to me what it means to be human. Kieran's mind raced. Prove what it meant to be human. That was a tall order, but deep inside, a part of him thrilled at the idea. He had always believed that humans were extraordinary. Perhaps now he would have the chance to show it, not just to himself, but to someone who truly understood what humans were capable of. "All right," he said, straightening his back. "If you want to see what humans can do, then I suppose we should start." Luma's eyes sparkled like liquid light. "Yes, let us begin." Over the next hour, Kieran found himself talking to Luma, explaining life on Vera 6, the station systems, the crew's research, and the challenges they face daily. She listened intently, tilting her head, asking questions that were simple but insightful. She asked why humans worked in groups, why they built tools, why they solved problems the way they did. Her curiosity was relentless but not in a threatening way. Kieran felt like he was explaining humanity to someone who truly wanted to understand, and that made him proud of his species in a way he had not felt before. Then she did something unexpected. She pointed to a console that monitored the planet's seismic activity. "This planet is volatile," she said. "How do you humans survive here?" Kieran smiled. "With caution, preparation, and ingenuity. We can predict storms, we can reinforce structures. We rely on science, on observation, on creativity." Luma nodded. "Creativity. Yes, I have observed it. It is remarkable." For the next few hours, she guided him through hypothetical challenges, strange energy readings, sudden malfunctions in the station systems, unpredictable sandstorms. At every turn, she asked him to think of solutions, to improvise, to show human ingenuity. And at every turn, Kieran rose to the challenge, using every bit of knowledge and skill he had. At one point, she leaned casually against a wall, her form shimmering softly. "You are clever," she said simply. "I expected humans to struggle. Instead, you adapt. You innovate. You are fascinating." Kieran felt a rush of pride. He had always known humans were capable, but hearing it from someone so alien, so obviously advanced, gave him a thrill unlike any he had ever felt. "Do you always test species this way?" he asked, curious. "Only the ones that intrigue me," she replied. "And humans intrigue me greatly. You survive, adapt, create solutions in ways other species cannot. You are bold, brave, resourceful. That is why I am here." The sun outside began to set, casting the sky in deep shades of red and violet. Kieran felt exhausted but exhilarated. Luma had entered his life without warning, and yet she had already forced him to confront the best parts of being human: creativity, courage, and resilience. She moved to the doorway again, her form shimmering like liquid glass. "You have done well today, Kieran Hale. You have shown what your species can do." He nodded, catching his breath. "Thank you, I think. This has been unexpected but amazing." Luma grinned again, the same bold, unshakable expression she had had when she first appeared. "I will return. There is more to see. More to learn, more to test. And you will help me understand humanity further." Kieran's chest tightened, not with fear but with anticipation. This encounter was far from over. Somehow he knew that humanity's story on this planet, and perhaps in the galaxy, was about to take a turn he could never have predicted. And in that moment, standing in the doorway with her bold grin, Luma became the spark that would push him, and the humans she was observing, toward something extraordinary. For the first time since he arrived on Vera 6, Kieran felt the full weight of possibility. He was alone, yes, but he was not powerless. Humanity had always been bold, and now, faced with the unknown, it would prove it once again. Luma's light shimmered one last time, and then she stepped back, vanishing in the air like mist. The doorway felt empty, yet charged, as if her presence had left an invisible mark on the room and on him. Kieran stood there for a long moment, staring at the empty doorway. He smiled. Humanity had a long journey ahead, and he would play his part. Boldly, without hesitation, without fear. because that was what it meant to be human. The following morning, the station buzzed with the usual activity, but Dr. Kieran Hale could hardly concentrate. His mind was still replaying the events of last night, the shimmer, the doorway, Luma's bold grin, and the impossible way she had appeared and vanished. He had told himself it was a hallucination, a trick of fatigue or isolation. Yet the faint warmth in his chest, the lingering spark of awe, told him otherwise. He was not alone in thinking so. Even though the rest of the crew remained unaware, Kieran felt as if the station itself had shifted, charged with an invisible energy that made every light seem brighter, every monitor hum with expectation. Kieran sat at the lab console, reviewing data from the previous day's scans. Suddenly, the air shimmered again. He froze, and the familiar liquid-like figure stepped out of nowhere, appearing at the far side of the lab. "Good morning," Luma said, her voice soft but commanding. "Are you ready to begin?" Kieran swallowed. "I think so, but what exactly are we doing?" "Testing," she said simply, stepping closer. "Humans are said to be resourceful, clever, adaptive. I wish to see it in action." Kieran blinked. "Testing, like experiments." "Not experiments," she corrected gently. "Challenges, opportunities to demonstrate the traits that make your species remarkable. Observe, solve, adapt." He nodded slowly. "All right, show me." Luma's form shimmered, and suddenly the lab environment changed. The familiar tables, consoles, and instruments shifted. Holographic projections filled the room, displaying strange, alien machinery Kieran had never seen. Patterns of energy floated in the air like shimmering streams of light, and a large panel on one wall flashed with a series of shapes that twisted and rotated. Kieran stepped back, trying to process it. What is this?" "A puzzle," Luma replied, her tone playful. "You must stabilize this station's systems while ensuring the energy flows correctly. Think of it as saving the station from a malfunction, only with challenges you have never encountered." Kieran hesitated for only a moment. Then, taking a deep breath, he began to study the holographic patterns. They were complex, certainly, but they obeyed rules, patterns of cause and effect he could understand. He moved his hands over the controls, adjusting the energy flows, rerouting streams, and carefully watching the responses. Luma watched silently, leaning against an invisible wall, her grin never fading. "Interesting," she murmured. "You are cautious but decisive. You hesitate, yet you act. Very human." Hours passed like minutes. Kieran worked tirelessly, guided by instinct, knowledge, and the faint traces of intuition that humans seem to excel at. Every adjustment he made brought the system closer to stability, but Luma introduced more complications: energy surges, holographic malfunctions, unpredictable patterns. Each time, he adapted, thinking quickly, improvising solutions that were neither obvious nor simple. At one point, a stream of energy surged toward a console, threatening to overload the system. Kieran grabbed a nearby control panel and rerouted the energy manually, stopping the surge just in time. He leaned back, breathing hard. "Remarkable," Luma said, her voice calm but filled with wonder. "You anticipated the risk. You acted decisively. Many species would have failed at this point, but you found a way." Kieran allowed himself a small smile. "We humans are good at surviving," he said, wiping sweat from his brow. "Sometimes the impossible is just another challenge." Luma nodded. "Yes, you survive not because you are the strongest, but because you think, adapt, and act. That is what makes you human." The hours blurred, and the challenges grew more complex. Luma manipulated the environment, introducing new elements that defied normal logic, energy streams that bent in impossible ways, alien machines that seemed to respond to thought rather than touch, holographic creatures that mimicked real threats. Kieran's mind raced to understand each anomaly, seeking patterns, testing hypotheses, improvising solutions. And each time he succeeded, Luma clapped her hands softly. "You are fascinating." I have observed countless species, but humans are unpredictable, ingenious, bold. You thrive where others falter. Kieran felt a swell of pride. Thank you, he said, though it felt strange to receive praise from a being so alien. We're resourceful, I suppose. That's what we do. Yes, Luma agreed. Resourceful, clever, adaptable, these are your strengths, but let us see how you handle collaboration. She waved her hand and the lab transformed again. This time, multiple holographic systems sprang to life, each requiring simultaneous attention. Kieran realized quickly that he could not manage them all alone. Luma's challenge was no longer about individual skill. It was about leading, coordinating, and maximizing human teamwork. He called in the other crew members, explaining the situation as best he could. Though they were initially confused and skeptical, Kieran's calm direction helped them understand the tasks. Together, they rerouted energy, stabilized simulations, and solved complex patterns. The station in this artificial challenge became a living testament to human cooperation. Luma observed silently, her grin never fading. "Remarkable," she whispered. "Humans can act alone, but together, you are extraordinary." As the simulated crisis came to an end, Kieran felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. His team had succeeded, and the station's systems were stable. Luma approached him, her light shimmering brighter than ever. "You see," she said, her voice almost reverent, "humans are more than survival machines. You innovate, adapt, lead, and cooperate. You are bold where others hesitate. That is why your species fascinates me." Kieran leaned against the console, catching his breath. I never thought anyone would see humanity like that. Not truly. Maybe even we don't always realize it ourselves." "You do," Luma said simply. "It is in your actions, in your courage, in your ability to overcome the impossible. That is why I am here, to see it, to understand it, to witness humanity's strength." The sun outside began to rise over the horizon, casting long shadows across the rocky plains of Vera 6. Dust swirled around the station, but inside the lab felt alive, charged with energy and possibility. Kieran looked around at his team, their faces tired but proud. They had faced impossible challenges and emerged stronger. Luma's form shimmered, and she floated to the center of the room. "You have done well, Kieran Hale. You have demonstrated the traits that make your species exceptional, but this is only the beginning. There is more to see, more to test, more to challenge. Are you ready to continue?" Kieran nodded without hesitation. "Yes, humanity is ready." She smiled, a bold, unshakable expression. "Good. Then the next test will be unlike anything you have encountered before." And with that she vanished, leaving only a faint shimmer in the air and a quiet hum of energy. Kieran knew that what lay ahead would challenge every bit of human ingenuity, every ounce of courage, and every spark of creativity. But for the first time in his life, he felt fully confident. Humans were capable. Humans were bold. And humans could rise to any challenge, even one created by a being as extraordinary as Luma. That night, as the crew rested and the station quieted under Vera 6 twin suns, Kieran stayed at his console, planning, analyzing, and imagining. The challenges Luma had presented were only the beginning. He understood now what she wanted, not just to see humans survive, but to see humans excel, to push themselves beyond limits, to prove that their ingenuity and courage were unmatched in the galaxy. And in that moment he made a promise to himself, to his crew, and perhaps to all of humanity. They would meet every challenge. They would rise. They would demonstrate the brilliance of their species, because humans were bold, humans were clever, humans were extraordinary. And the universe, it seemed, was about to find out. Days had passed since Luma's last visit, but the memory of her bold grin and impossible challenges lingered in every corner of the station. Dr. Kieran Hale felt both excitement and tension in the air. He knew that Luma had more tests planned, but he had no idea what form they would take. The crew continued their research as usual, unaware of the extraordinary being observing them. Yet Kieran sensed a subtle change. The station seemed almost alive with possibility. Every system hummed in anticipation, as though even the machines themselves awaited Luma's return. Then, as the twin suns dipped low on the horizon, the air shimmered once more. Luma appeared in the main corridor, her form glowing softly like liquid crystal. She moved with grace, floating above the floor, her eyes locked on Kieran. "Good evening, humans," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "I have returned with the ultimate test. Prepare yourselves." Kieran straightened immediately, his crew watching him curiously. "Ultimate test?" he asked. Luma nodded. "Vera 6 is volatile. Its storms can destroy even the strongest human outposts. Tonight, a massive planetary storm is approaching, one that could obliterate this station if not managed. I want to see what humanity can do when faced with true danger." A wave of tension swept through the room. The crew exchanged worried glances. Kieran, however, felt a familiar spark of determination. Humans were adaptable, bold, and resourceful. This was their chance to prove it, not just to Luma but to themselves. "All right," Kieran said, taking command. "We've prepared for storms before, but nothing like this. Let's coordinate. Every system, every backup, every sensor, ready yourselves. We'll show them what humans can do." The crew moved quickly, following Kieran's instructions with precision. Sensors were calibrated, shields reinforced, and emergency protocols activated. The station's internal lights flickered as gusts of high-velocity wind and sand began to hammer the exterior. Outside, the twin suns were obscured by swirling clouds of orange dust and plasma. Kieran focused on the control panel, monitoring energy readings as Luma floated beside him, her expression unreadable. "The storm is unlike anything you have experienced," she said. "It will test every human instinct, every skill, every ounce of your ingenuity." He nodded. "Then let's get to work." The storm hit with full force. Sensors detected extreme winds, magnetic surges, and seismic vibrations that shook the station's foundation. Panels sparked, machinery groaned, and alarms blared across the station. The crew scrambled to maintain systems, following Kieran's rapid commands. Luma observed silently, her light flickering in time with the storm. She made no interventions, no hints. This was humanity's moment to shine on their own. Kieran's mind raced. He quickly identified weak points in the station's shield system and rerouted power to reinforce them. "Jenna, increase the stabilizers on Sector 4, he shouted. "Ravi, monitor the energy flux, anticipate any spikes." The crew responded instantly, moving with synchronized precision. They had faced smaller storms before, but nothing on this scale. Yet under Kieran's leadership, they adapted. They improvised solutions when systems failed, rerouted power when circuits overloaded, and remained calm despite the chaos outside. At one point, a massive gust struck, damaging a key generator. Sparks flew and the room shuddered. Kieran's mind worked quickly. "We can't lose that generator. Alex, cut the auxiliary lines and redirect energy from Sector 2. Everyone else brace the supports." The crew moved immediately. Within moments, the generator stabilized. A cheer erupted from the room, though it was quickly suppressed as another surge threatened the station. Luma floated above the chaos, her gaze fixed on Kieran. "Yes," she said softly, "this is it. This is human brilliance in action. You act decisively. You innovate. You do not falter." Fascinating. Hours passed, each more intense than the last. Kieran worked tirelessly, coordinating his team through a series of unpredictable crises. Plasma storms damaged exterior panels, sensors malfunctioned under pressure, and energy surges threatened to fry the control systems. Yet time and again, the crew adapted, proving human ingenuity at every step. Finally, as dawn approached, the storm began to subside. The dust and plasma cleared, revealing the battered but intact station. Kieran surveyed the room, sweat and exhaustion coating his face, and saw the same exhaustion mirrored in his crew. But there was pride there too, a deep, unspoken pride that they had survived and succeeded where many would have failed. Luma descended to the floor, her form glowing brighter than ever. "You have succeeded," she said, her voice resonating through the room. "You have faced the impossible and prevailed. You have demonstrated what it means to be human." Kieran straightened, breathing heavily. We did it," he said, almost in disbelief. "The station, it's intact. Everyone's okay." Luma smiled, the same bold, unwavering expression she had worn from the beginning. "Yes, you led, adapted, and persevered. You used every skill, every instinct, every ounce of creativity and courage. Humans are extraordinary. You are extraordinary." Kieran's chest swelled with pride. For years, he had studied alien life, analyzed strange worlds, and faced countless challenges on Vera 6. But this moment, this recognition from a being beyond human comprehension, was unlike anything he had ever experienced. He turned to his crew. "We did it together," he said. "Every one of you contributed. Every decision, every quick thought, it all mattered. Humanity isn't just me, it's all of us." The crew nodded, smiles breaking through their exhaustion. They had faced the storm, survived the impossible, and emerged stronger. For the first time, they understood what Kieran had always known. Humans were capable of remarkable feats when they worked together, when they trusted their instincts, and when they refused to give in to fear. Luma floated above them, her form shimmering like liquid light. "I have observed countless species across countless worlds," she said. "Some are strong, some are clever, some survive by instinct. But humans excel in ways that are rare even among the stars. You are inventive, courageous, cooperative, and bold. You are worthy of the galaxy's attention." Kieran smiled, feeling a warmth he could not describe. "Then you're impressed." "I am more than impressed," she said. "I am inspired. Humans have potential that exceeds even my expectations. You face the unknown with determination, solve problems with creativity, and adapt to challenges that would destroy others. That is why I came. That is why I chose to observe you." The room was silent for a moment, filled only with the hum of the recovering station. Outside, the twin suns rose, casting warm light over the desert plains of Vera 6. For the first time, Kieran felt truly connected, not just to his team, but to the broader idea of humanity itself. Luma looked at him directly, her eyes reflecting the sunlight. "You have proven your species' worth, Kieran Hale. The universe will take notice of humans one day. Perhaps not today, perhaps not tomorrow, but one day your kind will be recognized for the brilliance it possesses." Kieran nodded, a sense of purpose settling in his chest. "We'll be ready," he said. "Whatever challenges come, we'll face them. Humans don't back down, we adapt, we survive, we excel." Luma's smile widened and she shimmered brightly before slowly fading, leaving only a faint trail of light in the air. "Until next time, human. Continue to rise, continue to prove your strength, I will watch." As the lab returned to normal, Kieran's team gathered around him. They were exhausted, yes, but their spirits soared. Together, they had survived the storm, solved every challenge, and emerged stronger than before. And in that moment, Kieran understood that humanity's story was only beginning. He looked out at the desert plains of Vera 6, at the rising suns, and felt a surge of confidence. Humanity was bold, capable, and extraordinary. They had faced the unknown and they had triumphed. And somewhere beyond the stars, a being named Luma had witnessed it all. And perhaps, just perhaps, the universe would never be the same again. Because humans were not just survivors. Humans were innovators, explorers, leaders, and pioneers. And when the universe challenged them, they rose, not just to meet it, but to master it. Kieran smiled, knowing that this was just the beginning. Humanity's potential was limitless, and he would be there to see it unfold, step by bold step, challenge by challenge, test by test. And one day, the stars themselves would know the strength of humans.